Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things. Now, we see them, and today we got a pretty interesting show, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, this particular story has been a confusing one for me, a very, very confusing one, and I'll tell you why. This is a story that I've heard kind of in passing, and it's been very hard for me to kind of pinpoint the exact place that I heard it from. Recently, just this afternoon, I was listening to Too Raw for Sports. If you guys don't know him, check out his channel. I think he has a great channel there. Check out his stuff there. But he was talking about it, and I was like, but I've heard somebody else talk about this, right? And I was trying to string it all together, and I was able to kind of, put bits and pieces of it together. So all of you guys know who Malika Andrews is. All of you guys are fully aware of her now, at least if you've been watching this platform here. She works for ESPN. You guys know who she is. You know her. You also know about the WNBA. I'm assuming a good majority of you guys know this. You know about The Shop, LeBron James' show, and all of this stuff. So essentially, this is what this story is about. It's a story that kind of grew some more legs about a month or so ago, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, essentially, this is essentially the quick here. Malika Andrews is I would say she's a feminist. I think if you asked her if she was that, I'm sure she would identify herself as that. So she usually takes very strong positions in that direction. You see her get into a lot of confrontation with a lot of her male counterparts at ESPN. There are various videos that entail this. But anyway, apparently, there was this conversation around the lack of pay for WNBA players. And essentially, I guess there was a movement out there for there to be equality in the pay between NBA players and WNBA players. Now, initially, this conversation started with Lisa Leslie when she went on The Shop. So what we want to do is I want to quickly play what Lisa Leslie's had to say on The Shop. And this question was prompted actually by LeBron James. And then I want you guys to take a listen to what Draymond Green had to say afterwards. So take a listen to this exchange here.
If it's one thing that I don't want to say change, that you feel that can help the WNBA's game out.
Help the game out. Okay, so I think the game is looking great. I think it's evolved great. I believe that players are more talented, faster. You can see they're getting that individual training, ball handling skills, shooting. The game is phenomenal. I thought they're playing at a high level. I'm very proud of them. I support the WNBA still. I will always, obviously we'd love to have Brittany back home. That's important.
For sure. Shout out BG.
Shout out to BG. She's never, far from our thoughts. But the WNBA is rocking. What could we have more? I mean, I just think, from a salary standpoint, it'd be great for the women to be able to make more money. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. I think I saw something that said, one player that makes maybe $12 million on an NBA team could cover the whole WNBA salary.
Yeah, that's insane.
So that's kind of crazy. And again, we're what, 26 years young, so it's not like we're comparing ourselves to the NBA, but I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe one night y'all don't go to the casinos.
I have something on this, though, because it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I don't think there's anyone in America that supports the WNBA more than NBA players.
100%.
The NBA players support the WNBA
the most.
More than we probably support the fucking NBA. And it bothers me.
You shouldn't be bothered because the WNBA players, I can tell you 100%, and we had a meeting for our 25th anniversary. We're do Zooms with the veteran, the legends of the league or whatever, and just talking about it. And I told them on that call, the number one supporter that we have, you guys never focus on, and that is the NBA players.
So you heard that exchange. Now, in the aftermath of that, Malika Andrews on ESPN, she decided to respond to what Draymond Green had to say in that audio soundbite. So what we want to do is quickly play, it's only about a minute long. We want to play what Malika Andrews said in response to Draymond Green, and then we're going to really get into this thing here. So take a listen to her here.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to pretend that I know Draymond incredibly well, but in the conversations that we have had, I believe that he genuinely wants to see change. I think he is coming from a good place. He just said that at the end of the day, he and Megan Rapinoe want the same thing. But inherently, the problem here, George, is that we're sitting up here talking about Megan Rapinoe versus Draymond Green, and that's taking away from what we should be talking about, which is equal pay. Here's the thing. This cannot be done. It is not on the oppressed to fix oppression. It has to be done with allyship, which is where someone like Draymond Green, a man, comes into a space that affects predominantly women. But the thing about being an ally is when you come into that space, you should be listening first, not talking first, because there is no one who understands better what these women are going through than these women. If you come into this space and say, okay, I'm going to listen, I'm going to take this feedback of what you've been living and what you've been experiencing, and then I'm going to then talk and then offer my ideas, perhaps even away from Twitter, because then it comes off like you're talking at somebody who's been going through something that's incredibly difficult for years and years and years, then maybe we can get to the point where women aren't making 80 cents to every dollar that a man makes. And by the way, that's white women.
So you heard what Malika Andrews had to say there. Few things. She used a word at the end of her speech there. She used the word oppression. I think that's the worst word you can use. We're going to compare this to oppression. I thought that was the wrong word to use, number one. Number two, I think recently Will Kane may have gotten into, he may have made some headlines around something like this, but let's just address this quickly. First of all, the WNBA is a product. It's a product just like the NBA is, right? We have to view these things as products, right? These products are now being marketed by various leagues through their players and other advertising, mechanism that they have in place. You have one product in the NBA that a lot of people enjoy patronizing. As a matter of fact, the average viewer, according to Statista, the average number of viewers per NBA game to watch a regular season NBA game across ABC, ESPN, and TNT for 2022-2023 season was 1.59 million viewers. In the WNBA, as of the 2022 season, this is according to Sports Lulu, average viewership of WNBA games was around 379,000 in the 2022 regular season. Let's pause the video there. Those two numbers are incredibly different, right? Incredibly different. We didn't also mention attendance, because NBA arenas hold roughly 20,000 fans. And I think attendance revenue makes up about 40% of all of the revenue. If I'm not mistaken, 35 to 40% of all of the revenue. So you have League A, which is the NBA, which gets more viewers, which gets more fans that attend games, which has more fans that patronize the products, which has fans, buying all of these different things associated with the sport, and they make X amount of revenue. You have the other league, which has its numbers, and they make Y amount of revenue. Obviously, this product makes more than that product. So how is it that product Y is being oppressed by product X? How is the NBA oppressing the WNBA? They have two different products, and people think that this product is better. Why is it becoming upon this particular league to now solve the problems of this other league? Number one. Number two, she said something, and this really goes to show you the mentality of Malika Andrews and anyone that you're talking about an absolutely warped mentality. You are somebody that's begging. Let's not get it twisted. You're in the position of a beggar here. You're going to somebody to ask them for something, and you're dictating the terms. What Draymond Green should have done is listen. Draymond doesn't have to do anything, because Draymond didn't come to you asking you for anything. So he has to do nothing. Draymond is the one that's in the power position. You're not. So you don't get to make demands or dictate how the conversation is going to go, which further shows you the absolute delusion that exists within this conversation, first of all. You're coming to me to ask me for money, and you're going to tell me how I should respond to what you're telling me? Help me understand. And I'm supposed to be taking you seriously? Why does Draymond Green need to take any approach? He needs to take the position of listening. Is his money in this case. So he doesn't need to take any position. He can listen to it however he wants to listen to it, and you don't get to dictate those terms because you're the one begging. Now, let me get to another example. Let me tell you why this looks weak. We just recently produced a show, and it all depends on when you're seeing the show. We just recently produced a show about a recent contract that's being offered to Mbappe, who's a soccer player, a soccer superstar, worth $1.1 billion. And if he were to ink that deal, he would make $776 million in 1 year. Mbappe. And you had other NBA players that were joking around, talking about, man, do they have any deals for me? I would go over there, blah, blah, blah. Joking, right? Because of the amount of money that these guys in soccer are making. Ronaldo making $200 million a year. All of these different things, right? Now, imagine if NBA players started talking about inequality, about, oh, well, why are these guys making more money than us? I mean, we're athletes too. Why are they making? They need to help us. We're over here being oppressed. They need to find a way to help us move our agenda. Why would they need to do that? They have a product that is more successful. They have a product that more people want to watch. So therefore, they're going to earn more money. Why would they need to help you? And how are you being oppressed by their success? How are those two things related? Are NBA players standing in front of WNBA arenas stopping fans from coming through the door? No. They just think that the NBA is a more interesting product to watch. And that's all. So I don't understand why the players need to feel incentivized or feel obligated to do something. Why should they? If they want to, fantastic. If they don't want to, they don't have to. Because they're not oppressing anyone. They're going out there and doing their job, and a good amount of people think it's a great product. And to sit there from a position of weakness, in this case, if we're talking about dollars and cents, to now dictate to the person you're looking to help you on how they're supposed to conduct themselves as they're engaging with this issue shows a flagrant level of delusion and just zero self-awareness. It's really alarming. And I know that there are people that think like this. Now, does inequality exist in the system? You better believe it. You better believe it. Does sexism exist? It 100% exists, but it doesn't exist just in one direction. I'll repeat it once more. Sexism exists, but it just doesn't exist in only one direction. There's certain benefit of the doubts that we've all grown accustomed to accepting that nobody says a mumbling word about. Nobody. I'll give you an example. Which is more likely to draw attention? If you heard a story of a woman beating up a man, or if you heard a man beating up a woman, which one do you think is going to draw more attention? Who do you think they're going to listen to more if there's a physical dispute? Who do you think gets listened to more? If a couple gets a divorce, who do you think the court systems are leaning toward? Now, is that fair? No, you explain to me, is it fair? Of course it's not fair, but we've come accustomed to accepting these things. There's sexism all throughout society on both sides. Am I saying that, oh, it needs to stay the same? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it exists. So before you raise your hand up and start hollering about what you're facing, know that other people are facing it too. I'll give you guys another example. Right now, we're in a climate where it is absolutely okay, well, in the United States at least, to openly bash men. And nobody's supposed to say anything. You had a situation between a couple, and the guy said something about, a person that recently got married, and he wanted to, have something with his wife, and she was tired. And the woman that's reporting on it is saying, what a disgusting man. What a disgusting male. I'm like, why don't you just say what a disgusting person? And if the shoes were reversed and it was a man reporting and said, what a disgusting woman, how many women will stand up and say, why are you speaking about women like this? No, help me understand it. Even my wife and I, we argue about it sometimes. And she knows I don't go for the BS. I don't go for the BS at all. I love her to death, but we part ways on that one. I'll give you guys an example. We can be sitting there watching a show, whatever. She'll see a guy, oh man, he's so ugly. But if I see a woman and I say, but she's so ugly, she'll say, don't say that, she's a woman. I said, but you don't have no issue when you said that about the guy. All of a sudden it becomes very quiet. It becomes very quiet. There are certain things that are just acceptable, that we just accept in reality. Some things are overt and some things are more subtle. But for Malika Andrews or anybody like that that feels that type of way, you wouldn't even, if I met somebody like that in reality, me and that person would not be able to converse for longer than 2 to 3 seconds. Because the minute I hear you say something, the minute I even hear you open up your mouth and that, I'm walking off. I'm walking off. I am walking off. I wouldn't even be there to hear you finish your sentence. The minute I sense you're that type of person, I'm walking off. I don't want to engage with you. I don't want to hear your perspective. I'd rather go listen to dogs bark at each other than engage in that foolishness. It's just not my conversation. It's just not my conversation. And people and ESPN wonders why people are so sick of Malika Andrews. Did you hear how she was talking? Does this sound like somebody we need to be taken seriously about anything? These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments. We catch you on the next show. Peace.